Welcome to the Bachelor podcast, the show about everything but nothing at the same time. Two guys that took jobs away from their families and living the Bachelor lifestyle.
Welcome to the Bachelor's podcast. My name is Landon, and I've got a special treat for you all, for all of our different listeners out in different countries. I've learned how to say episode 3 in like a whole bunch of languages.
Sweet. Let's hear it.
Well, all right. So we might have some Spanish-speaking listeners. How about episodio 3? You know, and I've also got Chinese here, Disanji. Doesn't even sound anything like episode 3. I'm pretty impressed with that. Or Czech, treta episoda. Huh? Is that not good? How about Filipino, tatlong episode? I don't know if I'm getting the right accent.
That's pretty good.
My favorite is French. Episode 3. Oh, no, I didn't say that right. Episode 3. Huh?
That's good. Keep going. What do you got?
Episode 3. Dre for German. So, I mean, and then pretty much everything else sounds the same. Episode 3 for Russian. You know, don't I sound like Russian?
I don't know many Russians to go off of, but...
Well, from what I'm told, I've been, the man on accents. So I really feel like I sound exactly like the Russians.
Well, I will say that you're probably the best on this podcast with accents.
Well, I'm just, I figured you'd be happy that I did some research, because this is really the first thing I ever researched for this podcast.
Instead of coming with things, off the seat of your pants.
Huh? Hey, look, some of us have to research some things around here. I know you didn't really do too much researching, but, it's fun. All
right. So you got any more of those, or is that it?
Well, I downloaded like 10 of them, but episodio 3 is a lot of them just sound like episode 3 in some different language.
Well, either way, welcome to episode 3.
How about Swedish, huh?
No, we're good.
No,
we're good.
Come on.
All right, one more.
Episode 3. Does it not sound like
it sounds like the rest of them?
I know.
Anyway, in English.
This is episode 3 of the Bachelor's podcast.
And you are?
Landon.
And I'm Dwayne.
Yep.
And welcome to another episode. We got a few subjects. Speaking of this past weekend, we're going to talk a little bit about podcasts, books, and winter prep. I mean, it's coming. It's just a matter of time.
We're going to have a warm winter.
Landon's gambling on a 50-degree weather for the winter. And
I think I said 70. But, I mean, it's already gotten down to 40 within, like, the 40s within the last week, so.
So what happened this weekend? You actually stayed down here with the family this weekend. What did you guys do?
Oh, yeah. We went fishing, so that was a lot of fun. Caught the biggest fish I ever caught down here, 3-pounder trout, so I was pretty proud of it.
You crushed Women's Fishing Day down here.
That is right. I will tell you one thing. It was Women's Fishing Day, free fishing on Saturday down here at Bennett Springs. And that's all I got to say about that.
Well, so if you want to check out Landon's Lunker, go to our Instagram account at the Bachelors, and you can see his lunker for the day. And the way they categorize lunkers down here on Bennett Springs is anything over 3 pounds.
3 pounds at the Bennett Springs shop, and then 2 pounds at the tackle shop above.
Yeah.
So this is my second lunker. That one, it was like, let's put some like dimes in there or something. Let's hit it up to 2 pounds. But
I think
it was
he
2
was
pounds.
Putting rocks in its mouth just before they weighed it in to get to the 2 pounds. So he got his pin.
Hey, look, and I wore that pin the next day. It was pretty good. I mean, I don't know. And then I felt embarrassed the next day because I still had the pin on because I was wearing the same hoodie.
But so why the fishing trip? You guys got something going on at the campground?
Huh? Oh, well, we got a fish fry coming up, but basically we have a fish fry for our family this weekend, so we had to catch a whole bunch of fish. So I'd say probably, it's my wife, my kids, and my mom and my aunt came down and went fishing, so we caught a lot of fish this weekend. So, I mean, the limit's 4, but I mean, that adds up, if you fish 2 or 3 days at least.
I mean, and the fishing down here right now, it's pretty good. I went down to the park yesterday and did, no, I guess it was Monday. Went down and did my running for the day, and there were several fishermen down there, and I seen everybody having something on the line.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah. Fishing. I mean, it's hit or miss. I mean, this year it's been pretty good, but anyways, normally we start. We record our podcast on Tuesdays, but you had some stuff going on, and apparently you chose your family yet once again over me.
yeah,
Right?
I had to choose my real family over my camper wife, as my wife likes to call you, is
Look,
that you are my camper wife.
I'm definitely the husband of this relationship. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Anyway, I had the last softball game uh,
For your daughter.
for my daughter.
Yeah.
Last eighth grade softball game, so it was a big one for her. And I mean, even this weekend, I spent the weekend, not down here fishing, the leisure life that you live.
Uh,
I was at softball games enjoying some.
We get up in the morning. We are there an hour before the whistle. You don't even get up on a regular work week that early. I mean, maybe if you're like heading down here from where you actually reside at home, maybe. But
Well, so let me get, you got down there early to beat all the women to the good fishing spot. Is that what that was?
look, I said I'm not talking about the women fishing. All right, I am all about women and quality, and that's all I got to say about that. If they want to rope off the whole thing for women to fish, then by God, let's rope off the whole thing for women to fish and not give a place for the guys to fish. That's all I got to say.
But evidently you didn't have an issue fishing because you were in there.
Well, I was
amongst all-
fishing on up above. I was just pulling, we call that ripping lips is what we call it, in the fishing world. I just learned that terminology. I really don't know if that's ripping lips. I think that might be more bass fishing, but whatever.
All right. Well, so you had a good weekend fishing.
Yep.
Then we started into the Monday. So a lot of traveling for both of us, back and forth. And one of the things we both enjoy makes the trip a little bit better is podcasts.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely a big podcast, and probably really the main reason why we do this because we enjoy podcasts so much.
Well, so before we start talking about some of our top podcasts we listen to, I've been talking to some of other colleagues about this podcast, and they were giving me some critiques and stuff. And I have one younger colleague that I work with, and she looks at me and says, "What's a podcast?"
How do you not know what a podcast is? Even my daughters know what a podcast is.
Well, and that's kind of what I was thinking. I'm like, are you kidding? Do you not know what a podcast is? So the three of us that were with her kind of explained what it was, and I mean, the amount of information that's out on a podcast, we was telling her whatever you're into, I'm sure that there's a podcast.
Yeah, there's a podcast for everything out there.
And she's like, huh. So I don't know if, I mean, because we're older, I mean, our kids know what they are, but probably because we talk about them.
Yeah, and I mean, we listen to podcasts in the car and stuff like that.
But maybe the younger generation, it's not their thing. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like it'd be more their thing than the older generation.
Well, that's what I thought too. I mean, even with the YouTube and the vlogging that's out there, and there's big vloggers.
Well, they're really big on YouTube. My daughter watches YouTube all the time. They'll watch some dude unwrap a box, or like these little box prizes, and they'll watch them for an hour just sitting there unwrapping it. I'm like, what? Why?
And making money doing it.
Oh yeah, and then like the oldest one's really into makeup all the time, and it's like she watches hours of makeup, and I'm just
and
anyways, we're not going on that subject.
Yeah, no, we're not.
No makeup talk.
But it boggled my mind. I'm like, really? You don't know what a podcast is? And she goes, well, how do you even listen to them? I'm like, what kind of phone you got? She has an iPhone. I'm like, you have an app on there that's
it automatically downloads, I think. Well, you might have to download them on the newer versions. I don't know.
So, maybe that age group, and she's early 20s. So, maybe it's not a thing for that generation.
Well, you always know, like, if of course I have an iPhone, you always know, like, I'll get the blue text, which means that the other person has iPhone as well, and they're like, well, where do you download iTunes podcast at? Well, maybe on your iPhone. Maybe that would be, the I kind of puts it out. But I mean, I had definitely some Android listeners or Android users that hit me up about it too. But I told them where we'd listen. I mean, for the most part, as of right now, we're on Stitcher, we're on iTunes, and of course we base it out of SoundCloud, and everything feeds out there. But I don't know if we're gonna go to too many more. I mean, that covers both bases. But
I got one request would be to put it on. I think it's like iHeart or Spotify or something like that. Maybe something we'll look at.
I was asked if it was on Spotify. Spotify does it a little differently, so I don't know if we'll go too much into that.
But all right. So anyway, what do you think? Top 5 podcasts we listen to?
Well, I listen to,
and we'll give you 2 alternates.
I don't know if I can listen to top 5. I listen to about 8 or 9 podcasts. I drive a lot though, so my normal commute is an hour each day just for regular work. So
top 5, starting with 5.
Okay, so we listen to a lot of the same. Disclaimer: we listen to a lot of the same podcasts, and the majority of our podcasts are going to be fitness based. Just a few different.
I like how you tried to back me in that corner. I think I got a little something for that, but go ahead.
Well, I know we listen to the same podcast.
Top 5.
Top 5.
Bottom one first, and we'll go on the way up.
I would say right now with season 3, it's probably Serial. I realize that that's probably one of the most rated podcasts of all time. I'm just not digging episode 3 or season 3 this year, but
well, I've listened to Serial too, and I'm on to season 3. But for those of you who don't know what Serial is, like the first one talks about someone that was convicted of murder, and it goes through all the trial, similar to the Netflix series Making a Murderer.
Yeah, episode I would say season 1 was definitely the best episode. And then,
if you liked, first of all, if you haven't watched Making a Murderer on Netflix,
they're getting they're getting ready to come out with season 2 on that too. So
second one, their second season for that is about
it was Bergdahl,
Jim Berg,
or no, Bo Bergdahl.
Yeah,
the one that deserted or whatever
in Afghanistan. And then the third one, the current one right now, is about the Cleveland, Ohio court system.
Yeah,
and I liked it from my background. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Doesn't make it right, but I kind of understand what someone was getting at. So it's a reporter. Basically, she goes to different courtrooms in the courthouse in Cleveland and follows, everything from fights in a bar to what was the second one on?
I do believe was that the guy that was charged with he was charged with standing out in front, and they arrested him, basically, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, so I'm going to go with my 5th choice is the Alton Brown podcast.
I don't know anything about Alton Brown.
So Alton Brown, he's a cook on Food Network. And he has a show, or used to have a show, called Good Eats. And he does this podcast, and he brings people to the forum that aren't necessarily cooks. They have some kind of something that they do, if they mix drinks, if they're a cook, if they're a photographer or whatever, and it just kind of broadens my outlook. So it's called the Alton Brown Cast. I enjoy it. It's a good one to listen to. So what do you got for number 4?
Number 4, I would probably, we're going to go probably CrossFit based. I would have to say my number 4 is called Froning and Friends.
I've heard this one.
Yeah. It's not as, the main person, Rich Froning, who won CrossFit for like 4 years, he's probably not the best person to be doing a podcast, but the other people add to it too. He's just not very. It's
dry.
Yeah, he's not very emotional. Now Ellie, which is also on his CrossFit team, she's hilarious.
Well, in order to listen to that one, I think you have to know what CrossFit is.
Yeah, you have to know what CrossFit is. You have to be a fan. But I will tell you that they definitely do other things besides like talk about CrossFit. They're talking about just all kinds of different things. They had a UFC fighter on there the other day that was from around there. and basically they talk about having to deal with like stress and stuff like that too. So that's also good, and communication and stuff. So
All right. So my number 4 is called Knock On. And Knock On, he's a prior service Navy SEAL, and he's a professional archer. It's got Knock On TV. I just recently found it. I've picked up archery, so it's a good base for someone who's either getting back into it or never gotten into it. And the reason why I found it was a CrossFitter, Josh Bridges. For those of you who don't know him, he's been in the game for a long time. He's a prior service Navy SEAL. And I follow him on Instagram. I seen the link. I followed it, and it's actually a pretty cool podcast. He does things with Joe Rogan. He's got a huge fan base, and a really good podcast.
yeah, what are we at? Episode 3 or not episode 3? Well, we are on episode 3, but podcast number 3, right?
Or Trace.
Episode 3. Episode 3. That's German, in case you're wondering. But anyways, and I want to start off with, okay, I'm adding like 7 of them on there, but I'm not gonna
have some honorable mentions.
like no. So Serial, the first one. I also listened to S Town, which is we're not really gonna go too in depth what the S means in S Town. Was we try to keep a clean family podcast around here, but it's basically they advertised it, I think, on Serial, and it's like anytime I watch a documentary or anything like that, I always start reading. I find out what happens before the end of it because I just start Googling, and I ruin it for me.
Yeah,
but
you can't do that with this one.
Oh no, it's an amazing podcast. Probably one of the best I've ever.
And we're seeing eye to eye on that. This was my number 3 pick. S Town. It's how many episodes?
I don't even know how many episodes it is, but it's
like 8 or 9 episodes.
What's well they use these stupid Roman numerals here. V11. All right, that's 7.
7. Okay, so it's 7 episodes, and it's based out of is it Alabama?
I don't. It's been. I mean, it says I played it November 7th of 2017, so it's coming up on a year.
So the synopsis. You want to give them a synopsis of what it's about? Don't give anything away, because
well, it's about a guy that they talked to, and he wrote letters in.
He wrote letters into this reporter about some things that were going on in his town.
Yeah, and just
I mean, like over a year, he constantly wrote this letter.
Yeah, and they talked to him and stuff like that. And he was a guy that owned like a rose garden, maze thing, and it was like, you can even don't research it, but you can research the rose garden. I would research the rose garden before you listen to podcasts.
Google Earth.
Oh yeah, you can see it on Google Earth. It's pretty cool. But yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, so basically this guy down in this town says, hey, you've got to come down and report on things aren't going right. The law enforcement's corrupt. The government officials are corrupt. Come down here. You've got to report this. We want to get this out. And by the end of it, I was shocked at the end of it. I was shocked.
But I mean, it's definitely a good one. But so is that both of our number 3s? Do you want to do your 2?
Nope. Go ahead with number 2.
Number 2. Well, I'm going to encompass 2 shows in one. Well, it's actually 3 shows. So Bobby Bones show we've talked about. It's a radio show in Nashville. And he's iHeartRadio top country, the most influential man in country music radio or something like that. But he's got the Bobby Bones show, and then he does Bobby Cast where he talks to, which is also called Bobby Cast. So if you want to look at that, he talks to riders, a whole bunch of different things. And then there's another spinoff. So I'm encompassing all 3 into one. And it's called Sore Losers, which is 3 guys that work with the Bobby Bones show. One of them's the co-host. And it's a sports show, and it's kind of rambunctious, but it's pretty funny. And actually, I mean, that's what kind of made me want to do a podcast, to be honest.
No, absolutely.
I was like, if these guys can make a podcast, now granted they do radio every day, but I figured we could at least make a go at it. So,
and I mean, I was going to say that's my number 1, and the only reason why I say that's my number 1 because that's probably I listen to it the most. and that's probably because they put something out every day because it's a
Yeah.
national show.
Are you talking about the sore loser one or
No,
the Bobby Bones show?
Bobby Bones
Yeah.
show.
And I mean, it's on, every day down here. It's on a radio station, but we just really don't get great radio service in here. But
So then, with that being my number one, I'm going to go with my number two, and it's a podcast that it's not even active anymore. It's called the Doc and Jock podcast,
I've listened to a few of those episodes.
and that's my number two because I kind of got to know the coach, Coach Joe. He's got another podcast that he does now called the Everyday Weightlifter. I haven't gotten into that one as much, but the Doc and Jock, I listen to it a lot. He was in CrossFit Games as a team competitor. I want to say in 2013. I actually, the Doc part is a guy that he got to know that's actually a physical therapist. So it talks about movement and health and not self-healing, but being able to do mobility and stuff yourself. But
Nobody needs mobility, in case you're wondering.
But since I listened to it so much, I even reached out to Coach Joe, and I was able to actually do some remote coaching where I was video my lifts.
I remember seeing it on Instagram, and he would critique you and stuff.
It started on Instagram, and then eventually I was sending him direct film, and it really helped with my Olympic lifts. Where I was at in that time, I didn't have anybody that really could coach in that.
Oh yeah, around that area.
But that's my number two.
Man, I have like 5 more. I don't even know how I can narrow it down.
Well,
I'm gonna
you get 2.
Okay.
No, you get your number 1. You haven't given your number 1 yet.
Yeah.
So what's your number 1?
I'm gonna do a double because it's another spinoff of a show. All right. Basically, it is called the Wadcast, and it is about CrossFit. 3 guys. One of them is a comedian named Eddie Ift. He's actually a fairly decent comedian. Not really my type of comedian, but he travels around and stuff like that. And then there's a cop on there that's based out of California. And then there's Armin Hammer, his real name's Armin Amarian. And he has another podcast, which he does straight like CrossFit from Armin Hammer TV. So I'll keep it short. That's really all I'm going to say about that. But it's pretty funny. Definitely don't let your kids listen to that by any means. But yeah, that's definitely a good one. How about our honorable mentions?
Okay, so I've got two honorable.
We're not going to discuss them though, right? We're just going to cut it short.
No.
What?
We got a little bit of time. It's not going to take that long. So my first honorable mention is Chasing Excellence with Ben Bergeron, and this one, he is a coach for a lot of elite CrossFitters, but the reason why I like it, the way he breaks things down, life in general, from parenting to coaching to running a business, really makes you think out of the box. Even breaking down the time that you spend yourself on a daily basis. I know you think he gets pretty deep or you don't understand, but knowing you, I understand why you don't understand.
Look, I'm not a retard. Okay, let me tell you. That is, I just couldn't do the podcast. I mean, I definitely listen to some that I like. If I have to skip one, there's definitely a few that I have to skip, only because of the audio quality, which is probably why, people listen to episode 1. I mean, they're probably like, well, but anyways. Do you have another one or no?
Go ahead. I got one more.
All right, so let's see. I have vision, unlike Dwayne. So my whole life does not revolve around CrossFit. It revolves around bodybuilding. It revolves around powerlifting. I like all kinds of different strongmen and stuff like that. So
yeah, you like strongmen.
Look, all right, that is an amazing sport. All right, I don't like strongmen. Well, I'll take that back. They're interesting to watch. They're amazing feats of power and stuff.
Yeah,
but speaking
your
of
YouTube channel is full of strongmen.
Hey, look. All right. Speaking of, this is a power lifter, and speaking of power, Mark Bell's Power Project. I've heard
some of his stuff.
The guy. If you do any lifting and stuff like that, you hear slingshot. The guy. He was a power lifter back in the day.
his family, one of his brothers
Yeah.
has something on Netflix about
Well, his brother
steroids.
his brother has bigger, stronger, faster. He's got trophy. I think he did Trophy Kids. I don't know. He's done like all kinds. He's got a new movie coming out. I mean, just all kinds
And
of
wasn't
stuff.
his one of his brothers want to be like a WWE
Well, yeah,
wrestler?
yeah. Disclaimer alert. He passed away, but
Yeah,
you know,
but
due to
you
steroid use,
see
and they
him
talk
in the
about it
video.
in bigger, stronger, faster, and stuff like that. I think his name was like Mad Dog or something like that.
All right. So my last honorable mention is a podcast called In the Dark, and it's something similar to Serial, talking about murder cases. And the one that I'm listening to is season 2 right now, and this guy has been tried 6 times for murder.
Is this
Five-
fucking a murderer?
5 times he was acquitted. They never released him. They filed charges again. Now he's sentenced again to the death penalty, and now they're going back at it again. Six times.
That's ridiculous. Anyways,
So what's your
well, I mean,
last
I don't
honorable
listen to
mention?
it a lot because the guy just puts a lot of podcasts on there. But I mean, you can't go wrong with Joe Rogan. I mean, like his fight nights and stuff like that. I like UFC, but I don't do like the fight night companions and stuff like that where you can watch them with the UFC fights. But I mean,
he has set up his what podcasts are 2+
like,
hours.
I want to say he's definitely like the top 5 or so. I would say of all times of podcasts and stuff like that.
Well, and to tie into with Joe Rogan, I talked about that knock on. He does podcasts with Joe Rogan, and then the Steve Ranella does a podcast called Meat Eater, which is another hunting style podcast that also does that with Joe Rogan.
Yeah, he does a lot. I mean, he just had what's his name on there? That gosh, what is his name? The Tesla guy.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, Elon Musk. So that was definitely an interesting one. But enough with podcast.
We'll save books to the next one because
Oh.
I think it'll be similar to this that we can really, well, you're on like book 1, but I've got several I could talk about.
No, I've got like 2. Okay, I've got a wide array. Now, granted, it's mostly that of a teenage girl.
What, Twilight?
Like, hey, look, I did read Twilight, so I don't know. I was excited.
Didn't you take vacation around one of the movies?
I don't know what you're talking about. This is a liar. And like I said in the previous podcast, Dwayne is a liar and a fraud. So I have no clue what he's talking about.
No. Hey, well, real quick before we go any farther, because I want to give a shout out to Special K family.
No,
Because they
you
turned
said
me
no
on.
more
They
shout
turned
outs.
me on to
Special
a
K.
new
Isn't that
podcast.
a drug?
Special K. No, that's a cereal.
No. Like, I'm
Anyway,
pretty sure Special K is a drug.
I think this one's been around a lot. It's the Dave Ramsey Show.
Oh, yeah. See, I'm not really big into financial planning. That's why I
because
married
you have a financial planner.
well, I married an accountant, so I don't have to worry about financial planning. Well, I probably have to worry, but, anyways.
Anyway, I digress. So,
I digress.
October in Missouri.
October in Missouri.
So, what's around the corner?
Summer. I feel like the pool's getting ready to open for the year.
So, with that being said, my take on that comment is you have not prepared or even started thinking about winterization of your camper.
I have. All right. How am I going to eat when there's no water? I just found minute rice, jasmine rice. It is amazing. Let me tell you, you don't even have to put anything with it, and turkey burgers. So really, those are the 2 things that I'm going to live off of while I'm in the camper, with plastic utensils and bottled water.
So, what about everything else that goes with winterizing?
Oh, no. I got the winterizing thing taken care of. I'll hire somebody. Or maybe my dad will come down and winterize the camper.
I'm telling you, last year got cold. I learned a lot from it. Don't let it creep up on you.
Look, all right, I'm not a pansy. I'm not a fair weather camper such as yourself, okay? I grew up camping. This is no big deal to me. This is what I do. But I mean, by all means, do your spiel. I mean,
So, what are you gonna do for a bathroom?
well, I will figure that out as we go.
What are you gonna do? Hold it?
Yeah. Look.
So, you ever heard those stories of the old mountain men back in the day where they were up in the mountains and they pissed outside the whole time, and then they had like a pee pyramid because it just kept peeing in the same spot and it froze?
Look,
Is that what I'm going to walk into?
We're not going to talk about this, all right? I mean, I'm very ladylike, so, we'll figure it out as it goes.
Yeah, well, I wonder what those ladies thought at Women's Fishing Day down at Bennett Springs on you down there.
I think, look, all right, I'm not getting into this whole Women's Fishing Day thing, but, like I said, all about women's equality.
You crushed it.
Women's equality. That is fine by me if they have their own fishing day. So,
Absolutely. It's funny, though, that when I got the text of the picture and you told me what day it was and how you crushed it, it just made me laugh because that would be something that you would do.
Yeah. Like, everybody was amazed by the fish. They're like, wow, that's an amazing fish. And I did have one comment on there. And it's like, you look like one of those old seaside dock workers or something like that. with the old waders on and stuff like that. So,
check it out. Comment, leave us a remark. And it's nothing bad about Women's Fishing Day. It's just that he was down there catching lunkers on Women's Fishing Day, elbowing the ladies out of the river.
No, I did not. They would not allow you in there. The guy was very specific that there will be no guys on the bridge. So I went to a different fishing spot, which I've never fished, and I was tearing up lips. Like I got the biggest fish I caught, and I got the smallest fish I've ever caught. And those were the only two fish I saw because they let all the women fish where all the fish are.
Well, and the cool place about that, I mean, is they have kids fishing days. They have free fishing days. I mean, they do a lot to get people down there and into the sport. So a women's fishing day, I mean, I think it's great. If my daughter had been down there, she would have loved it. Just to be around that camaraderie that I'm sure happened down on the river. I mean, you went off in your little corner and still did your thing, but I think it's great. They do a great job down there.
I, Landon, am all about sharing my fishing spots. No, I'm not. But we will not go into there.
All right. Well, that's about all we have for tonight. You got any last comments?
Yeah. I'm sorry for the podcast if you guys were bored. Let's see. How about we do like 5 minutes of dead space time so that way they can just listen in silence? Because I feel like every time you talked about a podcast, that's what I felt like.
I told you that I was going to shock you, and you pigeonholed me and said, "Oh, yours is just about CrossFit."
I pretty much named every single one that you did. Like,
you and then I came
out of the blue.
Look, idea.
I came out of the blue with that S-Town, and you didn't even see that coming at all.
I knew it was coming, but I was like,
"No, you didn't know it was coming."
That's my number 3, and you knew it.
No, I literally did not. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed episode 3.
Please like, subscribe.
Episode 3.
Check out at our Instagram account, which is
at the Geo Bachelors.
And look at Landon's lunker on there.
Oh yeah. But I thought we weren't going to do any more shout outs too. Hey, by the way, Cindy, shout out. You're amazing. You're my favorite person. Really, that's my only shout out. I will rip your book choice apart next week.
Leave us comments. That way we know what we're doing well and what we're not. So thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
We need an outro, like out, bomb, or something, like done. What do you think?
I think music.
Music?
Trail it off on music.
I feel like teamwork, clap work, or, right. Like...
Ready,
go.
Good podcast.
Oh, that wasn't very good.
Here,
ready?
One more time.
There we go.
Have a good night.